Oh, hello, you are live with me, Donald Kent, on the finest comic book illustration hour on the internet, on PooTube. And today we are doing a little bit of comic art surgery. So, this page here, the writer was like, I don't like it. No, I'm kidding. About this image here, and we talked it through, and so I basically traced the shape of this panel here, and I'm gonna ink this, and then I'll scan them both, and then cut this out in Photoshop and import it over on top of this. That, ladies and gentlemen, are the tricks of the trade. And if you don't know, now you do. So there it is, and there you go, forevermore. And so shall it be. I have the fan on. I don't have any music on because I don't know what the sound quality is, but waiting for somebody, whoever's watching me right now, if you could just say something in the chat. Is the sound quality okay? Just say okay or no K. Okay or no K. All right, Splatterman is here. All right. What's up, bruh? Thank you for coming and helping me out. I appreciate you. Yes, sounds good. Thank you. Um, I feel like I'm gonna try to sort of position myself over the phone better. It's weird because the way I've got the phone attached to my drawing table, it's like almost directly between my face and the artwork, like my face and the artwork. So I have to kind of like turn around the phone to see the artwork, but I do want my voice to come through. I had what's his name, Luke Mason, on the other day. It was a really, really good show. Whenever Luke's on, it just somehow turns into magic. Um, but I noticed that like he was coming through really nice and clear, and I sounded kind of far away, and I didn't like that. Me no likey. Does the phone get in the way? Well, not terribly, not terribly. It's not horrible. It's kind of like a microphone, if you've ever, which is sort of right up to your face, kind of, almost. Anyway, stop whining, Donald, and do your damn job. What's new, Splattercat? How was your day today? How was work? I'm kind of dreading work tomorrow. I have one of those like work problems just waiting for me. It's like you go in and like before you even like as you're getting out of your car and you're going in, you're like, oh, okay, what am I gonna say? Like that kind of day. And no, it's not terribly serious, but what do we got here? So Shadowlay, oh, look who's here, the mighty Flash Orgon. Hey guys, I want to show you something really, really cool. So this is an upcoming page, and there's this giant robot in the story. That here I've got him kind of getting loaded up with like missiles and getting ready for some big battle. But here's the cool thing. Check out this dude right here. This is a character in the story called God Emperor. And what does his profile remind you of? What does that kind of look like? Do you know anybody like that? Anyway, I talked to the writer, and I said, you know what? you have this God Emperor guy. I've got him on a throne here, and I thought, you know what? I'd like to put a symbol behind him that gives away his allegiance. And yes, yes, exactly, Splattercat. You got that right. And I came up with the Freemason symbol, and he okayed that. And then today I was like, how about what would be a better symbol? And I looked up Chabad Lubavitch, Chabad Lubavitch, and he's like, no, that's too on the nose. That's too on the nose. That's too on the head. Whatever. That was too intense. Like, back off there, Tiger. So we went with the instead of the Chabad Lubavitch symbol, we went with this one here. And the Chabad Lubavitch symbol actually would have worked because it's a crown. It's like a king's crown, but then it's got like three Hebrew letters underneath it. Laugh my ass off. What about a big nose logo? Oh yeah, there you go, there you go. Speaking of big nose, there's this upcoming character here called Cuckoo, and he's kind of like a crazy bird superhero character. Um, I'll just give you a hint. He is the son-in-law of this guy. So if you know your politics, you should have a little idea who that is in reference to. But we're gonna step back a little bit from that, and I'm gonna work on this thing here. I was just explaining a moment ago, before you guys showed up, that I'm doing a little bit of comic book art surgery. So I was talking to the writer about this page here. Well, let me read some comments first here. I'm blathering on. Hello to my good friends. It was good just playing Minecraft with my son. Oh, all right. Very cool. Very cool. That's nice. That's Trump. Yes. Hello to Great White Ape. Splattercat, a crown on top of the all-seeing eye, in the middle with the nose below it. Jeez, man, you got a job in comics, dude. I'm gonna have to like subcontract you, bro. You got these ideas and shit. Anyway, so I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so somehow or other the writer's like, oh well, that doesn't fit the joke in the script, and so let's redo it. So what I ended up doing was tracing like this. See this squiggly line right here, and then like the outline of the heads of these women onto here, and then I have this kind of, I know you can't see it very well in light pencil, but I redrew an action sequence that I will then cut out in Photoshop and like squish it right on top of there. So that's called Photoshop surgery. How you like them apples? Ah, yes, Dan Life of Donald Kent. Flesh Gorgon says, I love very detailed shots of robots and hangars being set up. Well, damn, dude, it's your day. Then it's your freaking day, because that's our guy right there. It's kind of a classic. Not class. I don't know. There's a couple movies out with giant robots in it. Pacific something or other, where they have these robot bodies and they go fight like like Godzilla type characters. There's of course Godzilla. Let's see if I can find the original art of the robot, so you have like a kind of a visual reference. I got it. Here we go. Okay. Okay, yeah. I don't know if you guys remember. This is from the very beginning of the book, but it's kind of like it looks something like this. Um, it's like a goldish bronze kind of color. So anyway, if you can see that, then you can get an idea about this, right? I think that makes some sense visually. Here's another nice piece with that dude on it. There he's going full throttle Aristotle, shooting lasers and guns and blah de blah. He's just going nutsoid. Nutsoid. and kind of cool. And then this is sort of like a Russian super soldier, and the general is like, Vladimir, it is time for you to attack. Make Mother Russia proud. So sorry, that was my little acting and sound effects there for your entertainment. I hope you enjoyed that. Here is a little more of the Russian super soldier. He is coming out of his tank. There, once again, you see the general, and he is like, no American missile can take down our super soldier. Yes, let us have some vodka. Very good. We are the Thunderbolts. Anyway, moving on. I hope you guys enjoyed my Russian accent. It's fun to do. I should tell you about this Russian girl I once knew. Oh no, never mind. I won't. I shouldn't talk about that. Moving on. Moving on. Right along. Okay, let's get this going here. More boobs today. Hope you guys don't mind. I know you hate seeing boobs all the time. I know. Give it the old swish right there. Um, what's going on here? Jaguar versus Godzilla. That stuff was awesome, dude. Jet Jaguar, I freaking love that, man. I think that's a lot of fun. Good stuff. Um, Jet Jaguar. Wow, it's cool that you know about that. You just got 100 cool points from Donald Kent. Sweet. All right, let's get this show on the road. Maybe should I zoom in more? Is that enough, or a little more zoom in? What would you guys prefer? This message is, oh, I will zoom. Okay, more zoom. Hold on. What do we got? Yeah, that's fine. We can show that. That's fine. Godzilla, make the laugh my ass off. Please make the voiceover for the animated series. I will, sir. I will. Um, what accents should I have for these different characters? I don't have any French characters. I need some French accent characters. I don't believe it is very easy to do, though. I don't like to embarrass myself because I cannot do the French accent. I always feel like I'm like insulting French people because I do such a bad French accent. It's not that easy to do. I really want to learn French. It's driving me nuts. It's just been a thing. It's like I think I told you the story. You know, my I'm French on my mother's side, and I can remember talking with my grandmother, my mother's mother, and being like, oh yeah, next year we get to pick a language in school, and I'm picking French because we're French, and she was all like, wow, really? That's I'm really proud to hear you say that, and she encouraged me, and you know it meant a lot to me. And stupidly, that at the end of that year, I had a girlfriend who was like, "Oh no, no, take Spanish. It's easy. I'll help you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. I like my girlfriend, so I better take Spanish." And then we broke up over the summer. I got fucked. I got to like take fucking Spanish for a year. Shit. You know. Um, no offense to Spanish, but I really don't care for that. That's kind of a problem. Um, I've looked at like YouTube videos that do, that teach French, and like ABCs and just real basic stuff. It's a real huge time investment, and I don't have anybody other than my one good friend online to speak French with. There is actually a French club in the city where I live. I would have to join that, for sure. I used to know a French language teacher. He was the husband of someone I went to school with, and we hung out and stuff. She passed away. His wife died of like a brain tumor. It's very, very tragic. Um, yeah, yeah, kind of a rough situation there. But anyway, I try to keep it light down. Keep it light. We're in the boob zone here. Keep it light. With a Russian accent. It's very simple. So I'll tell you about the time I met this lovely Russian woman. In fact, there were several times that I met her, but that is inconsequential. It's not for you to know. How can I tell you a story? Hmm. Um. No, I won't. I won't be telling that story today. I'm sorry. So sorry. So like boobs and butts. Okay, here we go today, and ladies and gentlemen, this show is not for children. No, there's nothing terribly inappropriate here. It's just anatomy, folks. It's just anatomy. Um, I'm always like, you know what? Learn Spanish. No, not Spanish. Did I just say that? Learn French and then move to France and lead the revolution. And die in the revolution. You know what I mean? Like become a martyr. That would be awesome. That's a way to live right there. You know, die for a cause. I know that sounds a little radical, but times are pretty bad. Maybe I'll keep the radical stuff not on the show. Speaking of radical, um, I have two friends that I'm gonna have on for a show. These guys are real based, and it's gonna be it's gonna be hard for us to keep our mouths shut, kind of thing. It'll be really funny. We're gonna have a lot of fun. It's just gonna like play music, um, talk shit, whatever, have some fun, talk about the cause, um, all that stuff. But I think that show is going to be mostly a fun show, like just our guys hanging out, listening to tunes. They're both musicians, so I'll be playing their music on the show and all that. Speaking of music, I have a friend in our sphere who is studying opera, and she's a very, very, very lovely gal. She's one of us, and she is seeking out people, other musicians in our sphere who would want to collaborate with her. And she's asking about people who do classical music, and I'm like, there's really, I can't tell you anybody who does classical music. I thought of Hollandier. I assume you guys might know Hollandier. He does kind of like Renaissance style classical music. Very, very nice. Very, very good stuff. Like, wow, really, really good. Um, he'll have to forgive me. I don't recall if he's from Sweden or Denmark. One of the Netherlands countries, and he's a very gentle soul. I've had him on my show before to feature his work. and a true talent, really, really, just a fabulous talent. And you listen to his music, and it just takes you to another world. So, but then it occurred to me, you know what? I know this guy named Luke Mason who does really, really based uh, heavy metal. And I thought, I wonder if she might want to collaborate with him and vice versa. So I reached out to Luke, who was just on the show, I think it was last night. And he says, absolutely. That is really eloquently said. And so, I got back to her and I was like, okay, I don't know what you think of this, but check this out. Maybe this could be a neat mashup, like operatic vocals with based heavy metal guitar shit, and Luke sings as well. He's got an extraordinary voice, highly talented. I know, like the shredding and the heavy metal and stuff's not everybody's cup of tea, but he's damn good at it. He's just damn good at it. That's like his thing. Oh, and I said, and then he's also writing a book. A highly creative guy. He's teaching himself drawing and all kinds of cool stuff. And anyway, so he told me about the book, and it's very, very. You got to know the guy. I don't recall if he talked about it on the show last night. I did actually send him a link to join this show, so he might pop in randomly. But I said, dude, the book, the story you're talking about, you got to see the movie Mandy with Nicolas Cage, because the vibe, the aesthetic, the concept, the weirdness, it's totally it's you just have to see this movie because it kind of aligns with that whole vibe that you're doing with your book. So I got him a link to the movie, and he just watched it like hours ago, and he's flipping out. He's like, "Oh my god! Oh, this movie's awesome!" So that was cool. It's really, really great when you can kind of help somebody artistically and like turn them on to some cool thing, that they weren't aware of before. That's always a great feeling. Um, so that was cool. Das ist gut, ja. Das ist very gut, ja. Um, mm, what is going on in the chat here? Let's read a little bit. Cat, oh yeah, it looks cool. Mech Warrior would be right up here. I gotta go back and I gotta read. I gotta catch up to you guys. Hold your horses there, gents. Okay. Logo, crown top. Love very detailed shots of robots. Mech Warrior. Um. Boobies. I can't read her T-shirt. Well, I could show you another picture of her. She's got one of these like radical feminist symbols on her T-shirt. Just trying to find another page that shows her up close. Naturally, I'm wasting time and I can't find the fucking thing. Here you go. Hold on. So it's basically like the Marxist fist. Do you see the fist on her? Like Black Lives Matter used that fist. It's the communists have it in red. The Black Lives Matter have it in black. So it's just Marxism. Oh, just another Marxist. Next brand of Marxism. Well, French and Spanish are kind of close. I think Eric Orwell does classical. Oh my God. Oh my God. Hello, Victorian time traveler. Holy shit! I think you're right, actually. Hmm. My God, there's something there. Like classical piano, I think. I think you're right. My God, I think there's something there. Um, I'm so freaking psyched to have him on the show. I'm telling you, I am just so psyched. That's just going to be awesome. So cool. All right. Let me entertain you. Hold on here. This is the bam, slam, pow symbol. You know, anybody ever watch those old Adam West Batman episodes? They get in a fight and then you'd see pow, oof, crash. So that's pretty much her getting knocked out here. Um, oh yeah, what are you gonna do? Um, okay. Let's get. I gotta get another marker. What shall we talk about, gents? What's on your minds? Is Tori DC? Awesome. How you doing, Tori DC? What is shaking, Tori? Are you an artist? Are you? It's the first time on my show. Have you ever seen my work before? We're gonna be doing some comic book inking. Got this cool robot that we're gonna be inking a little bit later, and everybody's favorite God Emperor, master of the Chabad Lubavitch world. Victorian says, I would like for our symbol to be the white hand of Sauron. That's actually a pretty neat concept. It's probably nobody would ever agree on what the symbol of like the white identity movement should be, but it would be pretty cool if we had one, though. I think we're so decentralized. You know what I mean? Okay. So what's shaking out there in shaken bake land? Um, there is this kind of like international radio channel that I get in my car when I'm driving to work. I always kind of pass over it, and occasionally I'll hear something in French, and I think it must be from like Montreal. I'm assuming, and so I just kind of sit and listen to try to like absorb the sounds, and just get because I think when you're learning a language, which I'm not learning French, but when you are, you got to get that going. They'll have Cantonese on, they'll have Mandarin. With the Mandarin, obviously, I know some Mandarin, so I'm able to actually pick up little bits here and there. And then, I mean, I haven't really done Mandarin in like a long time. I can order food at a restaurant or whatever, but so it's kind of neat when you catch words and meanings that you're like, oh yeah, I forgot I knew that. Oh, wow. Anyway, um, anybody here like Tame Impala? I'm a big Tame Impala guy. Although I've been recognizing recently how music can be, in a weird way, it I don't know how to put this. It can have negative effects in that it sort of encourages the mind to not let go of the past, and to keep certain kind of mental addictions, like, if there's, it's hard to explain, but I guess when I'm going through a big, like, paradigm shift in my life, so um kind of putting away the old self for a new self, so sometimes I'll hear a song and I'll be like, no, I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back there. I don't want to be that person anymore. I'm gonna stop and I'll just turn it off. I guess that's sort of personal, but maybe you guys can relate. Let's see. Victorian says, even though Saruman is, sorry, in the story is a horrible traitor, it's still an awesome concept. Wild. It's like wild. Awesome, dude. So what is going on? I don't know, man. I just nothing really. Well, no. I mean, I got a lot going on. I just, how do I say? There is this organization called the Nationalist Media Conference. Nationalist Media Conference, and I did a presentation for them in 2024, and there were several people who did presentations, and the guy who runs it, he finally went through all the video, uh, and it finally just published them. So if you're on Telegram, you can see that on my channel. Um, Lots of good stuff. I mean, there's tons and tons of good stuff. Uh, at the time that I did the presentation, we were still under Biden, and I thought like Kamala Harris was going to win. I thought we were like, this is the end, and it's just like preparing for like to become like full bore hated minority, in America, which we still are. It's not actually terribly different, but anyway, so like what the my concept was a sort of a proposal to kind of bring all of the artists in the organization together to do sort of art propaganda campaigns. um, we have connections with national networks, um, and then have these people propagate the art that we put out on certain themes every month, although that could technically be like every week. um and the mission or the focus was again to kind of get white people to take their own side, to become racially aware. um that's been like one of the hardest nuts to crack. Like, that's a real, it might even be interesting to just ask normies, like, what do you think would make white people uh, r- want to recognize and take care of their own demographic interests, and maybe be involved in some form of activity, not necessarily activism, but some form of activity where are they have a voice and they're having some kind of political or cultural impact to help themselves. And then it's kind of a wild question for normies. Now, of course you're going to get the like, oh, white people, and then, oh, racism, like whatever. But I feel like whites are very much like they're they're desperate for this. You know what I'm saying? Like they're really, really desperate. They just don't know how to do it. You know what I'm saying? They don't sort of have much leadership, or they don't know where to turn. So the program, if you look up the my presentation on Odyssey, you can get all the details about the concept that I came up with, and or contact me, and I'll send you a link to that presentation, and it'll be the best thing you ever heard. I like them apples. It'll change your life forever. This is actually really tricky, drawing this woman doing these like hip hop dance moves, but with like huge bat wings. You know, it's like, how the fuck am I gonna draw that? You know, not something you draw every day. I know Flash is like the best hip hop dancer out there. He's got the moves. He's got the moves like Jagger. I never understood that song. Like Mick Jagger's his dancing sucks. It's like weird as hell. He's this talk about a, I don't know, what would you call this? Like a guy who like tried so hard to steal black culture and try to act like that, you know. What is there a word for that? Like there's literally interviews of him like, oh yeah, I used to watch, you know, James Brown, and I would like be in the farthest seat up in the balcony where nobody could see me. So and I would watch them to try to figure out their moves. So then I would try to do those moves, you know. So I'm like, you know, it's really, you know. Anyway, so there's a couple more boobs for you. Oops. There she is doing some break dancing moves. Swing. What do we got here? Hippocratic Oath. I liked how Saruman stood on top of Orthanc and sang his curses against the mountains. Damn, bro. What the fuck, man? You know, whenever I think of Lord of the Rings, there's a certain scene that always comes to mind. And it really, you know how sometimes you see something and it's kind of so disturbing that you can never get it out of your head, kind of like that, you know? So it's the scene where they've got the two hobbits and they're traveling, and at one point, like they get really hungry and they start fighting over, you know, like, we ain't had maggoty, we ain't had meat in 3 days. All we've had is maggoty bread. And what about their legs? They don't need their legs. You know, I don't know if you remember those scenes, but like those are the lines that the orcs are saying. What about their legs? You know, like they're gonna just cut their legs off and eat them, and you know, it's really nasty. You know, and and I hope you guys know those scenes because it's my interpretation of them was just amazing. If only you knew. Um, So maybe should I back out a tiny bit? Let's see. Big Bongo is here. Greetings from the east coast of Zog Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Big Bongo. Big Bongo is in the house, and we are ready to rock and roll. So I've come up with a new phrase that I want to launch, and I will launch it today. And Big Bongo has just inspired me to announce this new dialectic. You've heard of black fatigue? Well, ladies and gentlemen, have you heard of Zog fatigue? Oh, yep, we got it. Oh, yeah, we got it bad. What is Zog fatigue, you might ask? Well, it's seeing rainbow flags everywhere you go. It's knowing that you can't speak out against degenerate things all the time. It's living around people who are programmed to defend their own death, basically, their own annihilation. Um, it's everything that living in Zog is all about. So, ladies and gentlemen, do you have Zog fatigue? Ask your physician if the dissident right is right for you. Maybe you need a full dose of dissident right. Ask your doctor for advice. It may cause you to not follow the rules. May cause you to lose your social media accounts. May cause you to. Side effects include losing your friends and family. Oh, what a life! What a world! I tell you, man, this is karmic theater. That's what it is, folks. Karmic theater. Yes, sirree, Bob. I get like Joker levels of. Well, I've had. I don't have it now. I'm in control of myself now. But I used to have like Joker levels of depression over Zog fatigue. You know, a Joker meaning like how we just laugh at things. That shit is just like so bad that all you can do is laugh. And it's almost it's insane. Because you're just like being sane in an insane world is just it's a pretty hard fucking thing to do, to be honest with you. But sometimes you gotta laugh. I tell you, man, Instagram is like crazy, guys. I don't know what if you are on Instagram or you see like the racist videos, like it's off the chain. Like the stuff that's out there, like it's total. And that's my point is that like this Zog fatigue or whatever, you kind of blow off a lot of steam laughing at that stuff, and of course you're sharing reels with your friends and stuff, and that's a whole kind of culture in itself is like sharing reels. You know what I mean? Who shares reels here? Raise your hand if you share reels. For reels. Sharing reels for reels. Oh my god. Maybe it wasn't about beating Zog. Maybe it was about all the friends we made along the way. Oh, don't make me cry. Okay. Can we have like an intelligent conversation, please? Stop making me act like this. Groypers say Zog slap all the time about literally all food. Yeah, yeah, yep. I post videos. Cool, man. Very cool. I'm gonna have to check out your stuff, bro. Scroger is here. Scroger, my man, my main man. All right, let's read. I gotta read some chats. While we're reading chats, let's look at boobs. Okay, moving on. Saruman, it's hard. It's a hard ass. Normies have never had to take their own side. They always relied on their king or Caesar. Interesting. Very interesting. That's very true. That song was actually written by a cow. I've got the moves like Jagger. Victorian time traveler for the dad joke points right there, my man. I love dad jokes. Get out of town, bro. Dad jokes are the best. Forget about it. Hey, meat, meat's back on the menu, boys. I love that. I don't know. It's just something about it. It's so horrible. Looks like meat's back on the menu. Holy shit! I would love to have like a mask, like a real, like really, really, like high detail mask of an orc or something, and like that'd be a great Halloween costume. I think I'd like to do that. I am so zogged out. I can't stand it. Big Bongo, my bro. I feel it, man. I feel it. The zog is very real. The zog fatigue is very, very real, and it is deeply, deeply exhausting. It's crazy because they talk about the Matrix. That's it, man. It's like seeing everything all the time. and then the madness of other people not seeing it or somehow not being able to talk about it. I was at this park a week ago at this kind of like event. There's house music and performers, just a fun outdoor summertime in the park event thing. And there's this chick I'm kind of, scoping out and stuff. And there were tons of Pajeets and Muslims and all kinds of non-whites that just had a very, very hostile kind of, like, they would just scowl at us, and there were a lot of them too, and it was very awkward and weird. And we're like, and this girl was like, there's so many different kinds of people here, like she's really like, but you could sense that it stressed her out. It wasn't like, oh, diversity, it's our greatest strength. It wasn't like that. It was more like, I don't know if I like this, like this it doesn't feel like we're home. It doesn't feel natural, like there's so many different kinds of people here. So, and like right at that moment, I'm like, oh shit, if I could, I want to say something, I want to, but it was just like not the right environment, not the right crowd of people. So it's kind of rough. But however, there's sort of a bit of a, what do you want to say, like a seed, that kind of dropped right there. And I'm gonna pursue that and see if, like, well, how did you feel that night when we were at that festival? What did it make you uncomfortable? What was the deal? Like, you pointed that out, and yeah, and then just start talking about XYZ PDQ, and then see where it goes. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? Hey, how you doing? All right, I got one small little last thing to do, and I can move on. Zog fatigue, not bad at all. I think I coined Zog slot, but no one really used it. Really? Wow, because like everybody uses it. That's been around for a while now. People, talk about Zog slot. But I mean, if you did coin it, that's wild. You know what's pretty cool? Excuse me. Do you guys know the A Tony memes? Hey Tony, how come they got wooden doors over here on these on this Auschwitz thing? Well, hey Tony, how come and then like, little things that like expose the falsehoods of the blah blah blah. So anyway, I know the guy that made that. I was there like when he's like, hey, look, check out this. I just made this. Hey Tony, and like he sent me the meme. I'm like, oh, that's really funny, from that TV show. Forget the name of that Italian TV show. And next thing you know, like he put out a ton of them, and that next thing you know, they just went totally viral. That was wicked cool. And he's like, you can't tell anybody that I made them. It's like I'll never get credit for having made, like I'm the guy that made the A Tony meme. It's just, I don't know. I guess that's our secret soldiers out there. Our secret soldiers in the information war. Um, yes, sorry, Bob. So, some of you know that I am going to be interviewing Eric Arval, Orwall, from Return to the Land. He has been in the news quite a bit. He's interviewed, so he's got this thing where he's started a property that's for whites only, and then like the Jewish Reddit got a hold of that, and then wrote hit pieces, and then all the news stations piled on, and then the ADL and blah 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 blah. And the glorious news about that is that had the opposite effect. It actually promoted him. So now he's, like he's doing really well. It's so funny. Um, which is so funny when like their efforts backfire like that. I love that. Anyway, so like where was he? He was on Jake Shields, interviewed with Nick Fuentes, um, uh, Thomas Rousseau of Patriot Front. And I reached out and I said, "Hey man, I'd like to have you on my show." So after the 11th, his schedule frees up, so we're gonna schedule something. Let me read the comments. Big Bongo says, "Groipers say Zogs." I read that. Scroger says, "I used to say the other one, but YouTube won't let me post it anymore. Wah, unless I had it." Yeah. Goy slop. Yes, with a big old yes. My brothers and I went vegan for a few hours once, just so we could say that looks like meat's back on the menu, boys. There you go, man. That's like a thing. That's a thing. Hello, Donald. Hey, Tony. Hey, Tony. How you doing? Hey, where you been, huh? Hey, how come you don't call me no more, huh? How's your sister Maria? Hey, what's the matter? I don't see you at church no more. What are you like? You ain't Catholic no more? Get the fuck out of here. Shut up with your face. Get the fuck out of here, Tony. Get over here. I love you, man. You don't give me no shit. Okay, Sopranos. That's the name of the show. You made the A Tony. No, I didn't make it. My friend did. I can't tell you his name. I created, or at least was one of the creators of the Joker N word meme. Woo! Hey, CG's here. Awesome, CG. We got a warrior in the house. There's a really, really good interview of CG on my YouTube. You have to dig back. It's a couple years ago about fourth generation warfare. Really, really interesting stuff. He knows his shit big time. And also, CG's got his own show, The Warcast, Dirty D. I recommend you guys look that up on Odyssey. Good stuff. We got a lot of talented people around us here on the Donald Kent Art Show. Let's get down to business here. I want to show CG this character that I created for this. He's called God Emperor. So, who does that remind you of? I'm gonna give you oh, look at that profile right there. How about that hairdo? Anyway, there's this character called God Emperor, and he's gonna be interesting in the story. So let's read on. Scroger says, "My buddy and I on the server, I've been using Zogstalgia. Wow, that's interesting. For about 4 years when talking about stuff from our past. Fascinating. Like nostalgia, mainstream stuff. Then let us build together. Beautiful, beautiful. Let us build a new world, our new world in our own image." Victorian says, "That's freaking awesome. We should I don't know, think of things to talk about with him about beforehand." Which person are we talking about? I lost track. So we're starting a new page. How's the audio tonight, gents? I hope it's okay. I did send an invitation to Luke Mason. I'm kind of hoping he pops on. He's always fun. He's a troublemaker. You know that Luke Mason with his white devil philosophy. He's like the accelerationist kind of guy. But I have to say, I think the accelerationists were right. I remember when I was like, no, no, do acceleration. Just enough time in this movement, and you just get more and more based. You know what I'm saying? It's like, nah, this is how it is. This is the way it's gonna be. I got some things to do here. And that's it. And that's it. Some technical things I gotta focus on here, guys. Hang tight. Decent sounding. Okay, that's good. Now, if only I could say something interesting and decent sounding. Wouldn't that be awesome? Maybe I'll talk a little bit about my presentation at the Nationalist Media Conference. So, like I said, I've posted my presentation on my Telegram and on several Telegram groups. I was trying to come up with a strategy to weaponize the arts, to get white people to start seeing themselves as a demographic. Um, the concept, I try to like simplify this because it's maybe a little slightly complex. So try to imagine a group of kind of rogue nationalist artists come up with, say, an art campaign once a week about who knows what, whatever the theme is. And then we make said art, and then we have it made as posters and or stickers, and then we employ all of the action clubs around the United States to then go out on a certain night or day and plaster those stickers and posters all over their cities and towns where they live, so that nationally there'll be like it'll all kind of come out all at one time, and then create a media buzz about that. Now, where did I get this idea from? It's an extension of an artist known as Banksy. If you're into the arts, you would probably know the name Banksy. There's also a guy named Shepard Fairey who, I don't know if you know the Obey. Um, it's not a sticker. It's like what do you call that when you cut something out and you spray paint through the holes? What's that thing? A template? Stencil? He made a stencil with Andre the Giant, and then he has like the word obey over it. You must have fucking seen it. It's like everybody's seen it. It's been around for a long time. So it's kind of like art activism in a way, where he would just go around and like spray paint that on shit. And it's almost became something of a subculture, you know. Um, so I'm like, well, let's do that. That would be a thing. However, with this idea, instead of just posting these art stickers, posters, there would be a QR code. And then the QR code would lead to a website, which within the presentation concept was something like heritageamerican.org, something like that. And so why Heritage American? Why that word, And the thinking is that it's kind of like the word white, or like whitepeople.org, like nobody's going to go to that. People are not, they're not, you understand what I'm saying. I don't need to explain that. I think you guys know the problems that we're facing. So, with that being the case, I'm feeling like, okay, yeah, so here's this whole, the website, heritageamerican.org would have blah, 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 like tons and tons of resources for white people. And it would be very much about like, you are becoming a minority in your own country. It's time that we came together to talk about it and prepare for that. And here are the resources of things you need to know. And then bang, boom. And part and parcel of the concept of this proposal was to focus on the term and exclusively use the term Heritage American, and not to use the word white. Um, and that is entirely for legal reasons. There's this whole like, oh, you can't discriminate, you understand what I mean. You know how the system works. So this page is going to be a bitch. There's like a million zillion teeny tiny details, so it's really going to be hard to talk and draw at the same time. I don't know if you guys understand, like that's really hard to do. Like doing a show where I'm inking and being interesting at the same time is not, it's like riding a unicycle across a tightrope while juggling. Let's check some comments. And also, please, please, please tell me what you think of that idea, the Heritage American art propaganda concept. Like, if you're like, dude, you're an idiot, it'll never work, then say that. If you're like, you're onto something, but needs some work, and do this, change that, add this, take that other thing out. Like, give me your critiques. So while I'm going to read some comments and give you guys something to look at here. Hold on. Joker, my buddy is on the server. I read that. Mm. I told the Idaho Sasquatch to keep an eye on Luke Mason. Good thinking. Good thinking. I love Sasquatch. I'm totally into Sasquatch. And I could talk about that a little bit. Anyway, Victorian says the return to the land, people don't realize how important RTL is because if he is defeated in court, it will set legal precedents. That is the point. You nailed the whole thing. That's everything right there, is that so far he has created a legal precedent making it okay for whites to have these properties. And not only that, he's going on a tour around America to help people start them, more of them in different states. Okay, so we're right on the precipice of that, guys. This in our movement is a big fucking deal. Okay, it's a big deal, and people need to get behind this and start, making some noise. You know what I'm saying? Make some noise, Vladimir. You must make noise to save your people. Do not be coward. Drink lots of vodka. We will win. God wills it. See, how'd you like that? That was pretty fucking cool. All right, moving on. Hippocratic Oath. I'm not sure how they could stop return to the land while they do the same in New York and Florida with their communities. They are setting up a new one in North Carolina. This is precisely my point. There's no precedence whatsoever. Moving on. Flash Gorgon would be cool. Oh, by the way, I read yesterday's Andre the Giant was French. What? Hey, there you go. Nice, nice. Big Bongo says it's okay to be white was quite an effective campaign of a similar thread. Not art necessary, but not art either. I think. Yeah. It's a kind of postmodern art if you think about it. Pretty fucking amazing. Um. Anyway, yes. So okay, you're onto something here. Okay, take that energy. Uh, it's okay to be white sticker meme energy, and you know duplicate that every single week with some new kind of art. That is could be anything, like they don't hate racism, they hate whites, or blah 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 blah. Whatever. Like there's a million little phrases we can dig up, we can use, we can invent. You know what I'm saying? So it's don't just do it once and then, oh well, okay, that was fun. You know, be active, get involved. Run with it. Um, Flash says it definitely made a big fuss. Sounds good. Heritage American is a very powerful term, but I think Foundation American is even better. Ho, 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 ho. Dude, you just got like 10,000 Donald Kent points straight to your account. Ka-ching! You the man. Flash. Flash for the win. So here's the deal, McNeil. Foundation American. Whoa. Whoa. I'm like seeing stars and stripes right now. I'm just feeling so patriotic right now. God bless you, man. I'm stealing that, and I'm stealing that right now. Foundation American. Dude, you just got like honorary American citizenship right there, bro. Moving on. Glad we have the Germanic chieftain spearheading it. Yeah. That's well said. That's well done. I should put something different on the screen for you to look at while I'm talking. Talking. Blah 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 blah. Hold on. just so that there's some visuals along with the talking. Um, Big Bongo says maybe an image of a white American family in front of a tidy home just says this is going extinct. When a code box, then a code box to scan for like, yeah, like you see right away, you can see all the potential for this. I mean, we have millions of memes, but like I've always thought it would be really neat to have an art exhibit of our memes and like blow them up and print them on canvases. you know, all of the memes from 2016 to now, that are just like canon for us that everybody knows, and then let the public actually see them and be like, "What? Oh my god, it's so offensive!" And let them like cope and seethe. That'll be the name of the show: Cope and Seethe. Memes of the far right. Wow. Okay. Victorian says about the term heritage American. Generally, I'm against euphemisms for white being used. Well, come up with something better. So, I mean, this is where we're at, right? Is like you can't talk about white being you cannot talk to white people about being white. So how do you fucking do it? You know what I mean? How do you do it? Victorian says I'm talking to people from the white well-being community, telling them that they need to rally around Arval. Oh, please do, please do. Here's the thing: I'm gonna put this out there. I could get in some trouble for saying this. Brace yourselves, okay? Um, I know that Arval would love it if Jason and his community got behind him. I feel that Jason he's very what's the word? Like he kind of wants to be the only leader out there. And he's a great leader in his way and he's done a lot of great stuff and I'm not taking any of that away from him, but he's had his disagreements and is it really helping? Like there's a lot of that out there that's just floating in the air. I'm extremely against infighting. Like that's one of my rules. Like don't infight. Just because I don't agree with you on A, B, and C, doesn't mean we can't get along because we agree on the rest of the alphabet. Like we have the same mission and like you do you and I'll do me and we'll see who gets to the finish line first. And if you were right, I'll buy you a beer. Okay? How about that? But like don't counter signal other people. Don't fight with other people. This is a massive thing that Arval is talking about and I'm going to talk about with on the show when we get together. I've got like an entire strategy for that. In fact, I got a lot coming down the line, but I'm kind of holding it back until the time is right. Anyway, let's just hope it all works out. So move on. Big Bongo. People need to feel the despair and the fear, and they will continue down this road blindly. And, or they will, yes. So that's the thing is like I hate to say it, but like whites, like how do I put this? The worse things get, the more our movement grows. Okay. The worse things get, the more our movement grows. And it's it sucks, but it's true. That's why I said like the accelerationists were right. Is that like it has to be right in your fucking face. And then people are like, holy shit, there's like I'm being overrun by Muslims or Mexicans in my neighborhood. What the fuck is going on and blah 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 blah, and then things just go from there. So but the problem is like how can we turn it around? Like if we're gonna have to wait and wait and things get worse and worse, how do you understand what I'm saying? Like if it gets so bad that we can't fix it and things have to go to the next level, which I think you guys can fill in the blank, you know what I mean by next level, then there you go. Richard Williamson is here. Welcome, Richard. I'm so happy you joined us. We're having a really interesting conversation. I'm not doing my work because it's really hard to talk and draw, but I think what I'm going to do is just kind of get through this convo and then I'm going to get back to some work here. But this is a really interesting topic. Like the foundation, Black Americans. Yeah, yeah, yeah. FBA. Okay. We was cons. Flash says at Big Bongo, well, let's be fair. Those earned their place, didn't they? But they're a tiny minority. So, like, to be fair, I'm always like, Jesse Lee Peterson will have to be the leader of the Black ethno state. I think if he were in charge of that, like, he would, I mean, I don't, it would still be Haiti, or not Haiti. It would might maybe be like, like Liberia, or maybe Nigeria or someplace. He might be able to get it up to some speed where it's a somewhat functioning society. Haiti is not functioning at all. But Jesse Lee Peterson he's the man. I dig him. He's a good guy. Anyway, that's not our fight though, is it? Right. Moving on. Victorian says, imagine if a what is it? Imagine, sorry, I'm distracted. If a state prosecutor was trying to shut down a Jewish community, however, I mean, in, like, what is it, Brooklyn? I forget where, Long Island, there's Jewish communities where the Jews have their own police force. They literally have their own police force. Like, and Muslims have their own communities where they have like Sharia law courts. Fuck that. Fuck that. In America, that's just total fucking garbage. They're garbage. However, you imagine it was a community responding how, yeah, it, that whole, like, imagine if they did that thing. That's such a tired. Oh, like, I'm so sick of saying that. Big Bongo, yes, and they need to live separately. I don't hate them all, but so all at all. But we cannot continue to be forced to compete with each other. It only will breed conflict forever. Yeah, I'm 1,000% in agreement with that. I mean, I actually have ideas for how Black communities could be run that would help them and make them functional, not violent. People could prosper. I saw this interview with this Black dude. He's quite old, and the interview was old. It was maybe from the '80s, and so he was like, there is no racism. No white man ever held me down. When I grew up, all the Black people in my community had businesses and jobs and homes and families. And I don't know what the fuck people are talking about. And I'm like, this is hidden history right there. That is hidden history. But anyway, it's not, we don't have a dog in that fight. So we're gonna my ant gnats, like ant gnats. Yeah, I know. I know. I'm not a fan of that. Like Handsome Truth. Holy shit, a meme exhibit would be amazing. Handsome Truth is confirmed Jewish. That's pretty fucked up because, like, I mean, the guy runs Goyim TV. Like, he's done more for the cause than like 100 people combined or whatever. So how is it that I mean, do you see where I'm going with that? It's like, that's so confusing. Like, is he doing it to get us in trouble because he's so radical? Like, what's your take on Handsome Truth? Because I'm kind of caught in the middle here. Handsome Truth, aka Scooby Da Whoop, I find him super sauce. Okay, never trusted him. Ask Yiz about Orwell. She could probably get Jason on board. I will be on Yiz's show on the 18th of this month. How do you like them apples? See, I'm always a couple steps ahead here, guys. Even though I can't talk and draw at the same fucking time. All right, let's get down to beeswax here. Let's get down to brass tacks. Um, I don't I don't feel I got my own plans. I kind of put it that way. Like, if they come to him on their own, that's their prerogative, if you know what I'm trying to say. But I don't feel like I need to say, hey, yes, you guys should do this or something. Yes is very, very, very intelligent woman, and she's got her shit wrapped tight. She can, she's good. So when and where and how she decides to do something, it'll be good. You know what I mean? Jelly bean. So there you go. Reading more comments. Richard says no, he not. He's gone after Christians, Catholics especially. I assume you're talking about Handsome Truth. Richard Williamson, who is going after Handsome Truth? Yes, you are. I don't want them to prosper. Kroger says I don't want them to prosper. I think he legit hates his own, but he is a Jew. I think a lot of Jews hate their own, to be honest. I'll tell you an interesting story. When I was a young man in college, there were a lot of Jews in my college, and I was not remotely politically, you know, enlightened as I am now or any of that stuff. Um, and I certainly was friends with a couple Jews, not super close friends, but like you go to school with people, you live in dorms with them, whatever. You're kind of friends with them. So I don't know. I remember one time I was in this sort of like a communal cafeteria area, a kitchen in the dorm where we were staying. And there were like a bunch of international students there as well from different places in Europe and stuff. And there was this one Jewish guy who was a somewhat popular dude, in the community and in the whatever college. And somehow he got in this conversation with somebody about saying, "Oh, I'm not Jewish." And then this person was like, "What? Like you can't say that. Of course you're Jewish. You can't say you're not Jewish." Nope, I'm not Jewish. And then like someone walked in the kitchen and they overheard it, and it was like, "Hey, did you hear this guy? He says he's not Jewish. Why are you saying that?" Blah 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 blah. And then another person, another, and another, and it became like not a scene, but like a thing. And a bunch of us got into this conversation, and we were trying to understand like why are you doing this? Like why are you denying this about yourself? None of us, of course, had any idea, about like Zionism or what have you, all this stuff, the protocols of the elders of Zion, you know 9/11 or da, da, da. We didn't know anything, and he really wouldn't tell. But I'll never forget the look on his face, though. Like it was a kind of like if you only knew sort of look. It was sort of like I know that you don't know, and I know, but you don't know, kind of thing. And but he was deeply passionate about like denying his Jewishness. That's for me, and I mean, I even had a go at him. I was like, "Look, I was raised Catholic, like devout Catholic. My family was really, engaged with church activity. Da da da. I went through all this education, yada yada da da da. And at that time in my life, I was like, I'm studying Buddhism or this. I'm interested in these various world philosophies. So I'm not really, I'm not a practicing Catholic, but I'll always be Catholic culturally because that's how I was raised. And that can't be undone. It's who I am. And I'm not ashamed of it. Like, why would I be ashamed of that? Why are you ashamed of being Jewish? I don't know, guys. Interesting, right? Interesting. You know, interesting stuff. Whenever I talk to like my Christian friends about the JQ, they're always like, "Oh, most Jews don't know anything about that stuff. They don't know anything about that. They don't know. They don't." Da, da, da." And I'm like, "Do they?" I mean, in the Talmud, it's like if a Jew should tell a Gentile about the Talmud, then they should be struck down and killed. So it's like kind of sus there, guys. You know what I'm saying? I think you do. Anyway, um, who am I? What do I know? What do I know? Hey, forget about it. Hey, I ain't know. I'm sorry, I'm off camera there. Handsome Truth, and he hates Christ. Ooh, more than anything, I think. Really? Wow. I think he legit hates. I read that. Scroger says, well, it's not European religion. That's a whole rabbit hole there. I agree. And White YouTube channel guy, the Ark is part J. Yet he puts out pretty solid stuff. The Ark. Do I know the Ark? I don't. I've heard of him. Big Bongo. Okay, whatever you say, but to hate Christ and Christians, most whites are Christians, is a losing fight. All we have to agree on is to love our enemies. Love our enemies from a distance, not close. Mm, interesting point. Scroger says, so is he our Emile Maurice, SS number two? I don't know Emile Maurice. I'm one of these losers that doesn't know cool stuff. Maybe Hippocratic Oath knows that. You can fill me in. Um, yeah, there's like part and parcel of Judaism is like a deep, deep, deep hatred of Christianity. I mean, they're trying to make the Bible. They're trying to make it so that the Bible itself is anti-Semitic. That they're talk. I've seen all kinds of reports on this topic about like, oh, Bibles should have some kind of like warning sticker on them, and blah 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 blah, all this stuff. And conceivably, to some extent, you could kind of say that isn't terribly untrue. There's certain passages in the Bible that are pretty clear on that, the synagogue of Satan, etc. But then, like in the Talmud, saying like, you should spit on Christians and enslave them, and well, what is it like? Even the best of the Gentiles should be killed. These are what the fuck, you know? How the fuck are we supposed to coexist with that? Handsome Truth recently jumped on the anti-Abrahamic bandwagon and acted like he owned the place or something. But there are many OGs and just recycles their ideas. Interesting. Harlan Ellison, who wrote I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, hates his own kind. Is Harlan Ellison Jewish? Oh, I've got a friend. He's This guy is insane. He's amazing. He's like every time I'm like I don't know, I have like some friends that we have this kind of like man cave hangout spot that we hang out and whatever, drink and listen to music and play whatever, blah blah blah. And excuse me, when he shows up there, he does this funny game called Name the Jew, and excuse me, and he just names off like movie stars, politicians, race car drivers, like anything and anything that you could imagine. He'd be like, oh yeah, Tom Bosley, the father from uh what's that fucking TV show? Happy Days, Jewish, and like stuff like that. And I'm like, no, I can't believe that. And Stuart Copeland, drummer for the Police, Jewish. No, and like he has ruined so much for me. I'm telling you, man. Like all these people you kind of grow up with and you didn't know. It's very anti-Semitic. I shouldn't say that. Anyway, let's carry on here. Enough with the anti-Semitism, guys. Um, who's the one dude right now in politics? He's Jewish and he's like killing it out there. Like on our side. Like he calls out Israel big time. He's a comedian turned like political commentator guy. Fuck if I can remember his name. I see him all the time on Instagram. He's been on like, you know, uh, Fox News and various things. um, okay. Scroger says, why wouldn't you want to worship the gods of your own European? Yeah, I strongly agree with that. There's two Talmuds, a Babylonian Talmud and another. I really only know of the Babylon. Well, I thought there was only one, so I should maybe put it that way. Okay. Emil was AH was SS. Oh, okay, okay. Richard was a. Are you on Donald's Telegram? I don't think he is. Himmler wanted Emil stripped of his SS status, but was a foundational member of AH kept him. Interesting. Um, Not just a fellow Catholic. Lars Ulrich from Metallica is a Jew and a Dane. No kidding. Wow. Hello to Hanfari. I messaged you, Hanfari, about you, me, and Luke Mason doing a show together. And I thought that would we just like listen to music and talk shit and have fun. Just like a one-off cool show with like my metalhead friends. I'm not as metal as you guys. You guys are the cool guys, but we could just listen to your music and stuff. Richard Williams says, hey guys, sorry to intrude, but if you want to help Don grow, likes go a long way. Yeah. I appreciate that, Flash. Subscriptions, shares, comments. I miss getting comments, but not everyone has eyes to see it as it's written. Kent knows who I am. Richard Williamson. Just remember those ones are the very rare exceptions, not the rule. James Smith. Well, I do like it when you get a Jew who's like, I know the score and I'm letting the cat out of the bag. That's pretty freaking intense. In the very rare case when you can find that. What is this guy's name? So yeah, the guy that comedian dude I was just telling you about, he's very, very based. It was like Greg Gutfeld from Fox. He's like, hey, here's a Jewish political commentary guy, and he's like, we should own the name Nazi. We should all be like, hey, my Nazi, how we doing? Yeah, he's trolling the left with this concept, this kind of thing. I don't know. Just trying to focus on some artwork here. This page is going to be very tedious. There's like 10 million stupid little. I got to use a ruler for like almost everything in here, and it's got to look right. It's got to look good. This isn't really like the best kind of page to do a live stream with, since of all the details. Let's read a little bit more. It's already 10:30. Harlan Ellison is very Jewish. Yeah. Okay, that's a shame. I know that sounds terrible for me to say that, but like people have to know the truth. I have replied, my brother. Good. We will. Peter Green, Fleetwood Mac guitarist. You mean what's his face? Ask me that any other time when I'm not live streaming, and I'll be like, oh, you mean whatever the fuck his name is. But when I'm live streaming, I'm like, oh, what's his name, dude? I always do that. Blank out. Guitarist for Dire Straits. Yeah, I know about that. Alex Stein. I'm not so sure who that is. Well, my daddy's got to work tomorrow, so I'm gonna have to wrap it up. I got some things done, but mostly had a really, really cool time with some very, very cool people. Um, it's not about quantity; it's about quality, and we got so many awesome people in the chat right now. I learned a lot from you guys, and very stimulating conversation. lots of rabbit holes that would take many more shows to explore. Let's see. Emil Maurice was Jewish and Adolf Hitler personal assistant. He was also one of the early SS. He was an honorary Aryan. There is some of the Jew blood that seems to be resistant to the Jew magic. Scroger, exception, not the rule. That's right. Um, he was 1/16th. So again, rabbit holes, deep, deep rabbit holes. I was just listening to an audiobook of Andre Serrano about esoteric Hitlerism this morning, and it was mind bending. I mean, it was like overwhelming. Like the stuff was so amazing, but also, I don't know how to say, like, there's just too much information there. It's just layers and layers of information, and like I need to like simplify this stuff. But he does talk about blood magic, if you will, like about Aryan blood and blood memory, and the importance of blood memory, and how that is, according to Serrano, a way of sort of like spiritual enlightenment or becoming free, is to remember who you are. And what he's saying is that we are really from space, like we're Hyperboreans, came here from another world. I'm really pleased to know that he's Gnostic as well. I was like, well, I'll see that one more confirmation for me in my Gnostic studies. Um, can you share the title on Telegram? Yeah, I shared the audiobook on Telegram. So just go to my channel, scroll up, and you'll find it there. So it should be there right now. You can find it. Then never go going back again. One of the best Fleetwood songs. Never going back again. I love that tune. Yeah, I love Fleetwood Mac. They're great. Um, it's funny because the music of Fleetwood Mac reminds me of a girl I dated in high school. So like every time I hear Fleetwood Mac, I think of her, which isn't they're good memories, so it's not a bad thing. Based Aryan aliens, yes, sir, Bob. Hyperboreans. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up, gang. You guys keep on rocking in the free world. Um, yeah, keep your head up. Where things are moving forward. A lot of exciting changes coming down the line. Stay tuned. Yeah, stay tuned. All right, brothers. Have a good night, and we'll see you next time. Adios.